In a world where small town life is deteriorating by the day, there's a town that is maintaining it, and that's the one and only Linden, Michigan. The question is, what's the catch? Some of you may have heard of Linden, while others definitely have not. Just to get you up to speed, Linden is located in southern Genesee County and is on the other side of the tracks from Fenton, tracks being the expressway we call US 23. You might be thinking, oh yeah, Lake Linden, duh. No, it's not the little village that's located at the top of the shark fin in the Upper Peninsula in Houghton County. Linden is 2.42 square miles in size, population of under 4,200 people, which plays out to be just over 1,750 people per square mile. It was incorporated as a village back in 1871 and is finally into a city in 1988. Kind of the new kid on the block, but not really. So what's the catch? Is this a good or a bad place to plant your roots? I'm going to give you a well-rounded answer to that question, so hold on to your hat. Kicking it off with reason number one to consider living in Linden, Michigan is the small town feel that is deteriorating in southeast Michigan, as I mentioned. I may be biased, but the reason would be very important to me. As someone who doesn't like tall or jam-packed cities, I'm already tweaking out when the grocery store is busy. Is it a town that you'll drive through and sneeze and miss the whole thing? Of course. But it's walkable, warm, and a place you can be proud to call home. A place like this is typically situated in the middle of nowhere. The commute times are rough, and proximity to city offerings is actually annoying, but not here. And I know when you look at centralized Metro Detroit, Linden and Fenton are pretty far west on the border, some would say, but the fact that US 23 is so accessible makes this a much more attainable place to live. Of course, it's another 20 minutes just to hop on I-75 to go to Detroit, and another 20 minutes in the other direction just to hop on M59 corridor, which I talk about a lot when referring to Heartland, Highland, White Lake, and the Four Towns in other videos. For my homebuyers I've helped move to the areas of Fenton and Linden, they've thought, it's borderline too far out there, but also not bad at the same time. And once they get into the community and see what that western pocket of Metro Detroit offers, they're like, you know what? I'm good with this. Another thing that's worth mentioning is the events, festivals, and everything that truly brings the community together. I mentioned in some of the other videos I've made talking about small towns, and they don't really do a good job of creating a list of events or activities for the residents, and I feel for the size of this community, they do a fairly good job. Could it be better? Of course, but I do think it will continue to improve for years to come. They have ice fishing tournaments in the wintertime, karaoke at the mill pond during the summer, river roast where businesses and residents come together for fun on the river, music, food, and activities, Halloween events, holiday lights, ladies' night out, holiday happenings, parades, and so much more. The best part is the local businesses have come together to sponsor these events and make it all possible. So yeah, the options might not be to the rim overflowing. That doesn't change the fact that they are community focused altogether. I'll be sure to link an events page in the description in case you were interested to see what else they offer too. If you can believe it, the little town of Linden has a downtown development authority as well, and it's composed of 9 board members and 4 committee co-chairs that work together to improve the community. That may seem like overkill for a community of that size, but there's a reason people rave about this little town that may seem far out to some. And part of what makes people good with being out that way is the price for homes, which is reason number 3 for living there, and that's only if you can get your hands on one. As of right now, there are 7 homes and condos for sale in Linden, ranging from a $265,000 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo with a little over 1,000 square feet, a 2-car attached garage, and built in 2024. This is a Mitchell Building Company's condo community that is coming together, and their priority is to keep dues low, which you don't hear a lot. So the community is about $150 a month, which covers all the exterior maintenance and trash pickup. They come with patios, 9-foot ceilings, AC, and other awesome finishes that are typically marked up to the high heaven in other communities. So this is something that becomes a good option under $265,000, which is nearly impossible for a new construction home these days. The price tag then jumps up to $600,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom single-family home with 2,636 total finished square feet with a 2-car garage, built in 1956 and situated on 0.62 acres. Funny enough, I have actually shown this home before, and the view outside is amazing. It's tree-lined on either side. It feels private and secluded compared to a lot of lake homes I have shown throughout Metro Detroit. It's a little outdated, but it has an incredible amount of potential, and again, this home will sell for at or below $600,000, and it's hard to find a lake home of that size on a quality lake for that price. And to give you just a little bit more insight to the home prices in the area, I'll hit you with this trusty graph that shows the median sale price over the last 3 years, showing the entire MLS in blue, Linden in green, Fenton Township in yellow, and the city of Fenton in red. And as you can see, Linden comes in right in the middle of the city of Fenton and Fenton Township. It's an affordable community by today's standard, and Linden, Fenton are often places I spend time with my first-time homebuyers too. But with that in mind comes some cons about living in Linden, Michigan too, because it's a catch-up community. One of those areas where it's not as built up as nearby brother and sister communities, but you know in the next decade it's going to look completely different as it plays catch-up with the more established areas nearby. I have chatted with several people who live and have moved to the Linden area, and they are obsessed with the small town feel, but being neighbors to Fenton and seeing the growth happening there within just the last few years, it's just a matter of time until Linden is hit with that caution tape and the orange barrels to kick off new construction. And I can't downplay the fact that it's already slowly in motion based on the changes that have already happened there. It's a life cycle, honestly. When everyone back in the day was leaving Detroit, they jumped into Dearborn Heights and Dearborn. Then years later, they jumped into Farmington, Farmington Hills. Now they're looking into places like Hamburg Township, Pinckney, and the northern communities of Linden, Argentine, Fenton, and Holly. There is some opportunity in the madness, though. Fenton, of course, hit popularity a couple years ago. Their home prices went up despite their averages falling in line with Linden, depending on if you're in the township or the city. The opportunity is there's still a bandwagon to jump on before things get more unaffordable than they already are in a community. And that's just like Brighton, for example. There's a lot of people that wish they would have just purchased a home there 10, 20 years ago and just seen how this equity increases happen. Well, that's a community like Linden. Of course, it's going to take some time to get there, but it will get there. I firmly believe these communities will be built up more than we could have ever imagined within the next decade. And there's a lot of people that have caught wind of that, which brings us to the next con, and that's being in a small town with big city problems. The infrastructure was not made for it. Of course, it can change. It will take years for it to catch up, and you'll see more stoplights, more roundabouts popping up, etc. Because at this time, when you get right outside that town, the speed limit's still 25 to 35 and doesn't really speed up. So that's the complaint with where Fenton is right now. It's getting too crowded. When I helped my brother move there prior to 2020, it was still a little town, it felt like, but now my brothers say the traffic and the congestion is just getting ridiculous. It's bearable, but ridiculous when in comparison to, of course, other Metro Detroit communities. The next thing I want to chat about and make you aware of are the property taxes, and that's why it's very important to know where to live in the area so you can take advantage of a nice little tax savings. I know it's not a gorgeous topic, but I always make a point to chat about this when talking about communities because it's an expense that's very important to keep in mind when buying a home, not only in Michigan, but everywhere. So make that habit of doing that due diligence now, and I will link the property tax estimator in the description for you in case you want to play around with it and just see the different areas and school districts too. As a reminder, put 50% of the list price in the SEV spot to get a more accurate estimate. When looking at Linden and Linden schools, the millage rate is 46.9798 as of recording this, which is fairly high, especially with communities around the Metro Detroit area in the low 30s. If we are basing this on a $250,000 home, that's about $5,872 a year. If we base it on the $600,000 home I mentioned earlier, that's over $14,000 a year, and that's where weighing your wants and needs is very important. Your dollar goes further in these areas, more house, more acreage, and all around just more space. But that gap is made a little slimmer when you factor in these property taxes. So it's something to think about when toying around with that budget of yours. With the city of Fenton, with Fenton schools, and with that same $250,000 home, it's about $5,678 a year for property taxes. So a little more than Linden. But if you look at Fenton Township, there are 3 school districts: Fenton, Lake Fenton, and Linden. Fenton schools for that $250,000 home would be $4,077. Lake Fenton would be $3,792, and Linden is $4,017. So if you're someone who wants Linden schools and also wants to save some money, consider living in Fenton Township in the area that falls within the Linden School District. The last reason you might not want to live in Linden, Michigan is there's just not a lot to do. And that seems to be the biggest complaint from current and past residents. I won't downplay that there are events and the mill pond that's in the middle area where you can do some water activities and a few miscellaneous parks and the Spring Meadows Country Club, but overall, there's not a selection of amenities that really brings outsiders to the area. Maybe that's a good thing in your eyes, maybe it's not, but where Linden lacks that, Fenton makes that up in the offerings, and Holly isn't too far down the road either to give you some of those up north feeling amenities like ORV, campgrounds, parks, and Mount Holly for skiing and snowboarding. So, it comes down to, is Linden a place where you'd want to live? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're thinking about making the move to Michigan in one day or a gajillion, feel free to reach out anytime. I also have a link to the Living in Michigan newsletter to give you insight on all things Michigan, so be sure to subscribe so you never miss out. Thanks for watching. Till next time.